Brad's coming back for more.
More abuse, more abuse. Ha!
Yes, and,
Actually,
and who is Sherry? There's somebody in here named Sherry. It's probably not Sherry. That's not your fault. So if you'll change your name and if you can come on camera, that'd be great. I don't know what kind of a tennis we'll have today being Black Friday, but we'll make it one way or the other.
like those doors behind you. What is that? Those are
Oh,
pretty cool.
doors. Let's see here. I'm
It's
in
not
my
as,
it's
yeah,
my
it's all
wife's
right.
house in Scottsdale.
Oh, cool. A lot of people today. That's good.
Well, there's a lot of note takers here. Jamie,
I
what's
was
up,
wondering
man?
why I wasn't showing up. It's because I was Sherry.
Ah, I got it. Okay. Yeah.
You're not a bad looking cherry at all.
Oh,
No,
thanks. Thanks.
one of the better ones I've seen this hour. So you guys got any more snow out there, you guys?
It's been light. We had we had 2 feet that one week, and then
Yeah.
we had a little bit just the other day, but not much. I think the ski areas are looking pretty good.
Well, we'll have some other people come in. I've got actually I'm in Phoenix, so it's 11 o'clock my time. So it's probably the same time there in Phoenix or in Denver, I'm sorry. And Brad, tell me where you are again. I forget.
I'm in Missouri. I'm Central Time. It's 11. No, it's 12 here. 12
Well,
p.m.
yeah. So, hey,
Um,
listen, welcome to Black Friday. Today's the 29th, special day. It's actually my youngest daughter's birthday. Yeah. And we will have a good time today getting into whatever level you'd like to get into from a mastery standpoint. Clearly, you can see normally I'm in my own studio in Florida. I'm in my wife's home in Arizona now, so I don't have my screen behind me. For those that have just come in, if your name is Sherry in the chat, you may want to come off, Sherry, put your name in there. And so we can talk to you, come on camera, and let's play a little bit. Today is mastery role play. And what that means is I'll handle whatever you want. And I'll give you some coaching. I learned from you as well. Brad, you're the first one on. So what would you like to perfect today?
Well, let's work on. I don't really work with a lot of buyers. I focus on listings, but I want to work on the buyer's agency, discussing that with
Okay.
a buyer.
All right. That's great. Well, the best way to do that is role play. I'll set up a timer. So we'll kind of keep it moving. And from time to time, I may pause if you guys want to interject something again, because this is my class, this is our class. As long as it's interesting to everybody, we'll spend as much time on something as you want. All right, Brad. So let's just cover it at the table. You're talking to a buyer, and you are. Have you had this come up yet? You just, if so, how does it come up? Where do you want to begin the conversation?
I have a person on my team that's dealing with it more, and since he's been working with it, I've started to think about it. So let's do it at the table, and we will be just coming in to discuss disclosures and such. So it'll be the initial meeting at the table in the office or somewhere.
All right, good. So we'll get you loosened up, Jamie. You are the buyer at the table. And again, you can act like a buyer acts.
Great.
Cool.
So
All right, so you're at the table. Go, Brad.
Jamie, hi. Thanks for coming in. You came in looking at a particular property that I have listed, and I wanted to discuss with you the disclosures. Get rid of the M's. Just discuss with you the disclosures about a buyer's agency. So,
Okay.
you bought a home before? Are you familiar with the process?
No, I'm not familiar at all. It's my first home.
So I'm
First
going to
home.
pause you right now. I'm going to pause you right now if it's okay. So keep your train of thought.
Okay.
I think it works well for me. I mean, I have to think of things in kind of a process. And you just said the right word there, Brad. When they come in, and it seemed a little clunky. Oh, I'm going to go over some disclosures, blah, blah, blah. When kind of look, all right. So, hey, Jamie, thanks for coming in. So have you bought a home? Have you bought a home before?
I have not.
Have you bought a home well, you're in Colorado, you're in Missouri, Brad. Have you bought a home in Missouri? So I'll ask that.
No, I have not.
All right. So do you mind if I take a few seconds and explain the process?
Yeah, that would be good. I'd like that.
Now when you open up that box, the process does include the disclosures. All
Okay.
right. And so I had a metaphor that I've used before. If you're taking notes, and again, I'm gonna everything to me is kind of a picture. And so I'll go back to you in just a second, Brad. So Jamie, so the process is really, really is from a buyer's. I've done this for 5 years, 10 years, 40 years, doesn't matter. The process for a buyer is, do you know what the first decision, or in fact, the first and maybe the most important decision you as a buyer have to make?
My guess would be where I want to buy a house, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually number two. The first decision I'd recommend is selecting the right agent. In fact, in my mind, this is how I think of it, is kind of like running the bases. Your first step is find the right agent, the one you're comfortable working with, the one that meets your needs, checks the box, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I'm going to pause here for a second. My approach may be different than some. My approach is to get them into understanding that's their first decision, to hire the right agent. I'm not pushing me yet. I'm selling the idea they should hire an agent first. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That makes sense.
So basically, if you're hitchhiking to work every day, you know what? And I work for a Dodge dealer. You know, Jamie, I think you should buy a car. Now, I'd like you to consider mine. I want you to buy into the idea. It's more the bigger picture than selling me. So some people go right for it. And that's why when we had role play today in Recon, it's kind of like, I don't like, well, I could show you. So let's just go back to your role play, Brad. So the first process, I mean, the first step would be finding the right agent. Hey, Jamie, I would like to apply for that job. Now, how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel threatened at all? Does it make you feel like I'm they're going to be there for you? Am I now preparing you that I'm going to make a job? I'm going to be interviewing for the job. Does anybody feel pressure at that?
No.
All right. Second base is getting ready, getting yourself ready, having a discussion of basically, and that means if financing, if there's going to be a discussion with the agent to what you're looking for and just what you said. That's second base. Third base is basically is developing going out and looking, and of course then you slide into home, you get a home. That is my way of explaining the process. Like, for example, if I had to go hire an attorney, a trademark attorney, which I know nothing about, and I wanted to interview an attorney, I would appreciate the guy saying, well, here's the trademark process. Do you mind if I explain it? I would welcome that. And so, Brad, going back to you, does that make sense? So you ask that question secondly. You went into the disclosures, then you went to the process. I'm suggesting you talk about the process.
Yeah.
And the agent would be the number one. Second base would be the criteria and the necessary required state disclosures. All right. Start again, if that makes sense. Jamie, sorry to interrupt you. I hope you have your train of thought. Let's start again, okay? Go.
All right. Well, thank you. All right, Jamie, thanks for coming in. Just wanted to review the process. Is this your first home that you've purchased, or have you purchased before?
This will be my first home.
Okay, great. There's four steps I'd like to cover with you right at the beginning. First, the whole plan here is for you to find the right agent. I may not be the fit for you. I might be the right agent.
Stop. Don't take it away from you.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
So you find the right agent, and I hope I'm that guy.
Got it. All right. So Jamie, I was finding the right agent, and hey, I hope I'm the right guy. Also getting ready for the purchase. We'll be talking about financing. Are you buying cash, or are you going to be using financing?
I'd probably have to get a loan. Yeah.
Okay. Have you looked into that yet?
No, I don't actually know any lenders.
Okay, very good, very good. And then the third, the state disclosures is really this focuses on you, but and yet we do have to discuss how the right agent, me, gets paid. So compensation. And then after we come to an agreement on all that, we'll go out and start looking at the homes.
All right, I'm gonna
So
pause.
that being said,
Hang on a second, I'm gonna pause you.
okay,
I'm asking for feedback. I don't want to do all the talking. What did you hear there? And it's okay. It's better. It's going to be clunky until it's comfortable. I'm not worried about that part.
What
What
did I hear?
stood out?
Uh,
It's like a tuxedo and you're wearing a black tie with white socks. It stood out. Did anybody pick it up?
Was it the compensation?
Compensation.
What about the compensation?
How he's going to get paid. Something became
Bingo.
about him.
Yes. Is that really what it's all about? See, it comes off like you're worried about how you're getting paid. You're not really worried about him finding the right house, right?
Okay. I mean, yeah.
So, all right. So we'll circle around. So I see some the is that Katrina and Denise? Thanks for coming on camera. Anybody else can come on camera? I want to make sure I don't have anybody in the waiting room here. So, Jamie, do you work with buyers?
I do.
So would you like to then, let's pick up on this. Let's reverse roles and I can go over to Denise. She can be the buyer. Would you like to be the agent doing the upfront interview?
I sure can give it a try.
It's also called a strategy session. So if you could get them into the office for a strategy session, and so you're sitting down and go.
Yeah, hi. So I'm really excited to meet with you. Thanks for coming to the office today.
You're
I
welcome.
wanted to kind of go through the process a little bit of what it takes to buy a house in the Colorado market and kind of give you a feel for what that process looks like.
All right, stop.
So
Stop a second.
Oh.
The welcome is okay. It's always better. Please make a note of this. Ask a question.
Okay. Okay.
Before you go into your presentation, ask some questions like Brad did. Have you bought a home in Colorado before? Have you bought a
Got
home?
it.
Yeah. So have you been through the buying process before? Have you been through it in Colorado? And then another great thing to do again is, okay, so you may ask the question. And one thing that Brad did that I probably wouldn't do is that when you're explaining the process of running the bases, I would stay at 500 foot. You know, he asked about financing. Have you been to a lender yet? I would wait all that stuff. I would get the process out of the way first. So sorry to interrupt you, but this is mastery. I'm saying start by asking, like a server would do at a restaurant.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. So Denise, so can I ask you where are you living right now?
I'm in New Jersey.
You're in New Jersey and you're planning to move to Colorado or you're looking for a vacation spot?
We're looking to move.
Ah, awesome. Awesome. We have a lot of people that love to
I'm
move
going to
to
interrupt you
Colorado.
one more time. So here's the thing. You gave her an either or. She picked one of those, but maybe that wasn't the answer she would have given. What brings you to Colorado?
Oh, okay. That's a good
So
question.
do your best not to give them multiple choice.
Good. Okay, good.
So this
All right.
is great start. Keep going.
So Denise, what brings you to Colorado?
We are making a lifestyle change and we're looking forward to the Colorado lifestyle.
Stop. Now I'm going to stop right there. Now, wasn't that a better answer when she just gave you the one? Now we're looking for a lifestyle change. That gives you a whole other avenue to drive down.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
keep going.
absolutely.
Good job.
So what about the Colorado lifestyle is attractive to you?
We're just looking for a slower pace and more outdoor recreation for our free time.
Okay. What do you like to do for recreation? Are you looking forward to mountain activity? Yeah. What type of activities do you like to do?
We look forward to skiing and hiking and then there's great shopping out there.
Absolutely. Are you planning to work while you're here, or are you?
Yes, my husband has a job lined up with a car dealership. He's a mechanic and I am in sales, so I will be looking for a sales job.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Is that going to be in Denver or what area?
We're looking for an area that fits our budget.
Okay. Where will you be working?
I don't know anything about Colorado, so we'll be working in blah 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 city.
Perfect. That's a great area. I love that area. Um, so the nice thing is that we've got a lot of opportunities in Colorado, no matter where you are. We got great homes, and we're all so close to the mountains. You'll just love that. Have you ever purchased a house before?
I have.
Now I'm going to pause a minute. Now, wasn't that a natural start? You had a little conversation when someone comes in, get to know them a little bit. Now, we may not have asked every question and drill down on everything, but doesn't it make a more comfortable beginning?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting ready to have the conversation because you just talked a little bit, you picked up. Well, let me ask you, what did you pick up from her that if you were taking notes, I encourage you guys to take notes, that you would have written down? Anybody, what did you pick up from her comments?
Looking for a slower lifestyle, looking for recreation. They're coming out to work, but also enjoy their free time.
Yeah, that would describe about almost anybody, but that's okay. Good. What else? There's something there that I want to know if you picked up.
She's in sales.
Yeah.
Husband is a mechanic.
Yep. Tell me
Um,
more. Anybody?
Thinking,
Katrina, what'd you hear?
That she doesn't know anything about the area and she has a budget, but we don't know what the budget is yet, but
Yes, and I'm glad you passed on the question that, what we want to do again this is okay, so let me just say it. We've got to be careful we don't go down the criteria road before we understand their motivation. And you did a good job of avoiding that. You could have said, what's your criteria? Or what's your budget, blah, blah, blah. But you picked up on that, Katrina. There's something else she said that I think would have been really important.
doesn't really know the area.
Why are they moving?
slower lifestyle, kick back.
I think that maybe, okay, maybe.
and then didn't she say her husband had a new job in
That's
the
it.
area?
That's it.
Mm,
Did you pick up on that? Now, what that would mean is he's already got the job at the dealership. The question in my mind is, okay, where is the dealership located? Because that's going to then take that big Denver metro area into what? Shrink it down, right?
Right.
right.
Radius.
So my question is, did you hear that?
I
Yes.
heard it. I didn't pick up on it.
Yeah. I heard I didn't focus on it. I should have. Well, I was trying to pin her on a location, and that's the direction I was going. But
That would have been a good clue. Well, what
Yeah.
dealership is it going to work at? Okay, so then what could be some conversations around that?
Commute.
yeah, what type of commute are you looking for?
Exactly. And now you did say you picked up on one thing. You said, well, we're, a lot of areas close to the mountains, blah, blah, blah. Although I don't know if she mentioned mountains or not, but the bottom line is I picked up on the fact that because when I work with a buyer, I'm always thinking area first, home second. Most buyers come in, what do they want to do? They want to look at homes.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not in the right area, what difference does it make, right? And some of this that I'm sharing with you is good for them, but it's also selfish for me because I'm in Fort Myers, Naples, and again, people, traffic can be an issue. Traffic can be an issue in Denver for sure. I learned that. So I don't want to show them a house they fall in love with in an area that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why we practice question-based. You're asking great questions, listening in hand. So let's work on the listening. That's why I write down when I have conversations. Are you getting that, Brad?
Yes, I am.
All right. So good. So all right. So you got to know her a little bit, and I know it's going to be a little bit. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We're just going to assume Brad's the husband. Because you're going to have a strategy session, it's going to be, it should be they're both there. Okay. So keep going, Jamie. let's see if you can get into the process and eventually bring them around to required disclosures.
Okay. Okay. So that's great. Brad and Denise, I'm so glad you're here. Congratulations on the new job, Brad. Where's the dealership that you're going to go work for?
Oh, it's in Commerce City,
Oh,
just right
awesome.
outside of
Awesome.
Denver. I think it's outside. Is that I haven't got it located yet, but I believe it's right outside of Denver or by Loveland. But Commerce City is the place. You ever heard of it?
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, great area. Great area. Some really nice homes there. Um, are you looking to live in Commerce City, or are you hoping to be somewhere commutable to Commerce City?
It's kind of up
Careful,
to
careful the
Denise.
alternate choice again, but that's not a bad question.
It's I'm okay with a commute, but I'm gonna let Denise decide that one because she's the one that is more
Smart
concerned
guy.
about that.
Happy wife, happy life.
So, Denise, how close would you want to be to Commerce City?
Well, Brad commutes now 45 minutes to work, and that is, he leaves very early to avoid traffic. His job at where he's going to be working starts at 8 a.m. So I guess it's the timing of the traffic that's gonna for him to be able to. I mean, Brad, you want to have that same drive, or would you like less?
Well, really, I'd like less, but 45 is okay. 45 would be the max, so we'll focus there, maybe less. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's fair. And there's a lot of areas around Commerce City, even within like half an hour or less, that are very nice. I think you'd like. But let me tell you a little bit more about the process. So
Ask the
there's
question. So, all right. So I tell you what, before we get into that, do you mind? Here's the question. Do you mind if I explain the process to you?
Good question. Yeah.
Always ask. You're always winning. Write it down. You're always winning when you're asking a question. You're not telling them anything. So I'll tell you what, I made some good, we'll get into it. I'll tell you what, you're going to like what you have here. However, before we get into that, do you mind if I explain the process to you? Again, there's 15 different or 50 different ways to transition, but I'm just more of a question guy. So you've asked the question. Now let's go through the process, Jamie.
Okay. Yeah. So lots of options around that. And we can explore all of those. But first, do you mind if I explain the process to you on how people buy homes in Colorado?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So,
Is it different?
yeah, well, as you can imagine, there's a number of decisions to be made throughout the process. But the first decision that you're going to have to make is, what agent are you going to want to use to purchase your home? Typically, in a market like Colorado, and I would imagine in New Jersey, there's challenges to people, to the process that a good agent can help you through.
All right, all right. So now you're walking in a motel room with the lights off, trying to find the bathroom, and you don't want to trip over the end table. Right? It's just, I mean, it's awkward. You're saying something you're not used to saying. So this is how the process. You mind if I explain the process to you? Okay, sure. First of all, again, is hiring the right agent, and I trust that's why you're here. And you could be a little assumptive. I trust that's why we're here. So again, congratulations. Finding the right agent is the first step. Now, if you've just met, I'm asking this, I'm not in role play right now. It's okay to be a little assumptive. I mean, they're meeting with you, right?
Right.
And you can just say, well, I just assume that's why you're here. And you know what? I am raising my hand to be that agent for you. I trust that's okay or whatever. I mean, what are they gonna say, yes or no? But what we're gonna find out, here pretty soon because you're gonna have to go over the disclosure. So now you've basically hired the right agent. You've said that. Now you're gonna go into second base. Typically is criteria. I should do it in order. Yeah, the criteria, what they're looking for, and being prepared in criteria. So what am I talking about? Well, okay, so one thing I want to make sure you guys know is that you would never ask if they've been pre-qualified until you find out if they're paying cash or not. What else might you want to find out? Oh, in New Jersey, okay, okay, this is how I do it. So basically, Brad and Denise, here's an interesting thing. You're talking to both of them. So I would ask this question to Brad. Brad, when do you start your job?
Oh, good thing is I've got about 30 days yet, so it should give us some time.
Okay. Now with that, okay, so a lot of times people ask me, well, what do you have to give me the scripts to say? It's not these, you don't have to memorize this. It's pretty logical. All right. So what would be a logical question to build from that?
Do you have to sell a home in New Jersey before you move?
Okay. Even before that, what would be a logical net? 30 days he starts.
Well, making sure they understand the timeline of the buying process from buying
That's
to closing.
yeah, but that's a tell thing. This is an
Okay.
ask thing.
What are you going to do if you don't find a home in 30 days?
Well, that could be, no, here's where I'd go. All right. You start, when would you like to be here?
Yeah.
So what,
Yeah, so you don't want to show up the day before you start work. So how soon would you like to be in Colorado?
yeah, isn't that a logical question?
It is.
Okay, so what's the answer?
Well, as soon as possible, Jamie. But like I said, I've got to start in 30 days. I suppose I could rent and she could live there for a while. But yeah, as soon as possible.
Well, you guys already picked up on the fact if he's going to start in 30 days, what's their plan? I mean, are they now there's a series of questions, okay, so he already brought it up. What, I mean, if he has to start work in 30 days, how's this going to happen? I mean, wouldn't that be a logical next conversation?
Yeah.
All right. So then I'd go back to one of your questions. Okay. So are you selling a home in New Jersey?
Yes, we are. And it's under contract.
Awesome. So okay. And many times I may have, you guys, there's nothing wrong with slowing down and thinking a little bit. Like I'm thinking like, okay, and when is that supposed to close, Denise?
We're supposed to close January 3rd.
Okay.
That
30
works.
days, January 3rd. That's about the same time you're starting, right, Brad?
That's real close, yes.
All right, now I've got a question, and you may have one too. What would be your next question?
My next question would be, what happens if it doesn't close? Or how would they start the process here before it closes? Focusing on money down, maybe they're going to do a conventional, but we haven't really got there yet in the conversation, have we?
Do you need the proceeds from your sale to buy your new house?
Is this relocation?
Say it again.
Is this relocation?
Oh, okay. Oh, that would be a great question. So I would probably say, okay, so then, okay, so that's here's what I'd probably ask. I've been thinking, okay, so that's a pretty tight timeline. Would you like to do a simultaneous close? That's probably the question I would ask. What does that assume?
That the money's coming from
Assumes-
the proceeds.
Well, maybe, but it assumes that we're going to go out looking for a home to buy right away.
Right away. Yeah. It's gonna have to happen immediately.
Plus, they may not have thought about it, meaning, like Brad said, well, may have to rent something. I said, would you like to do a simultaneous close? I mean, who wouldn't like that? That's kind of like having a hot fun Sunday with no calories. So who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. So yeah, explain that to me just a little bit. I'm not familiar with it. I mean, that might be where the conversation goes, but
Well, hot fudge Sunday is like ice cream and fudge. You're talking about
Cherry on top.
okay.
No, the no calorie thing. Yeah.
all right. So now
But it brings you to the urgency. It brings you to where they're at with that. I like that.
Yes, it does bring it to the urgency. And so, all right, so like I said, would you
Well,
like,
so I'd be tempted to take it to timing of what a typical transaction looks like. You
but you're
know, typical
telling,
transaction. Well, are you familiar with the purchase process? And you know, the normal turnaround time takes about 30 to 45 days to purchase a house.
okay, take her down that road and see where it goes.
Yeah. So that's great that you've got your house under contract and you're closing on the 3rd. That's awesome. Are you going to use the proceeds from that sale to buy this house?
We will be.
Okay. And will you be bringing cash or will you get a loan for any difference?
So we are going to be getting a very small loan, but we are putting probably about 50% down with the proceeds from the house.
Okay. Okay. So, just a little information. So in Colorado, our transactions typically with a loan take about 30 to 45 days to close. So given if we, found a house today, our best case would typically be, 30 days from today that we would close, which has you within your window. But it kind of helps us see the urgency of finding the right home quickly. So it'd be pretty important to get out and get looking right away. Is that something that you're looking to do?
Makes sense.
We made the trip out here.
Okay. Okay, great. So, the first decision really for you is to pick the agent that's going to represent you best in this transaction.
But we already talked about it. We already said that.
Yeah. Then after you've made that decision, the next thing is to really hammer out the criteria, what you're really looking for in a house, and to line up the resources that you're going to need. So one of the key resources you mentioned, you're going to need a small loan. We're going to need to get with a lender. Are you working with a lender currently?
Well, we have a lender in New Jersey that says he works multiple states, and Colorado is one of them.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. I also have a number of lenders I work with here in Colorado too. If your lender doesn't work out, we could definitely talk to one of mine.
Well, I hear you on that. Just here's the thing. I wouldn't be spending a lot of time there yet. The bottom line, they've got someone. What you want to do is you want to get them to the paperwork, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so just
Okay.
be careful that we don't get we'll stay on the interstate. Let's not get to the side roads.
Okay.
Because again, we're second base is being prepared. You're learning what they need, blah, blah, blah. Oh, good. You're talking to someone. I might just say, I might be able to help you there too, if you need it.
Okay. So I can help you with a lender if you need that. But let's go ahead and talk about kind of the agent, the relationship between you and your agent, and how that looks through the transaction. Is that okay?
Yes,
I have
please.
no idea what that means.
Um,
No,
So,
you're laughing, Brad. Brad, do you understand what he said?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. It's all good. My laughs are fun, not my laughs
No,
laughing
we're
at
not
you.
laughing at you, but let's be clear. Here's what I'm thinking. Oh, this is great. It sounds like though, obviously we're in a tight time frame. So here's what here. So are you? This is what I do literally. Are you ready to get started?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, let's go. We don't have much time, obviously. Thank you.
Good. And so I'm assuming they're working with me. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is, now that we agreed to work together, I would say that we can watch this. We can go over the state required forms in just a matter of a couple of minutes. Secondly, let's get right into criteria and let's identify the homes you may want to be looking at today. Now, isn't that simpler?
mhm. Yes.
And so there's been a lot of ways to do that, but I'm moving them forward. They're wanting to move forward. They don't, I mean, clearly their timeline says we don't have a lot of time to screw around. I don't think they're going to be interviewing 5 other agents, correct?
Right.
So let's get to the paperwork now. And Katrina and Sherry, I know that Sherry, that's not your name. The one with the golden gate behind you, anyone else on the call that wants to participate, you can participate. I want to get to the paperwork now. How do you get to the paperwork? This is where you guys are kind of like uncomfortable.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So would you like me to demonstrate how I would do it?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay.
You're the shepherd.
And I've never even seen the form we use in Florida because my team works with the buyers, but this is how I handle it. Okay. First of all, okay, we're going to get to criteria here in a second. The first thing, and this is now a law, that we have to go over our certain disclosures, same in New Jersey, I'm sure. And here's the Colorado forms that we use that the state gives us to use. And so I guess my question is, would you like me to give you the highlights of the form, or would you like to review them on your own?
I would like to hear the highlights. How about you, Sherry? Or Denise, I forgot.
Yeah, it's your wife, stupid.
Sherry was my other wife. Anyway.
Well, I mean, that's what I would ask. But when I would be meeting with the seller, forget about the buyer agency agreement. When I meet with the seller, our listing agreement's like 5 or 6 pages, probably like yours. And I always ask, would you like me just to give you the highlights, or would you like to review it on your own? Or would you like to read it? Would you like to read over it? I mean, I don't think I've ever had someone say, no, I'd like to read all 6 pages. Now, have they not given you the permission to the water ski over the form? And for example, it's always good to have
Denny's stuck.
He fell asleep. Wake up, Denny.
Oh no. At least he's kind of smiling.
Yeah, it looks like he's asleep.
Oh no.
And my team knows to do this. When an offer comes in, they will go ahead and download it. And they take a yellow highlighter, and every blank that could have a check mark in it or something filled out, they highlight. Now that way it just trains my eye to look at things that I don't miss. Oh, they check the box that the seller is paying closing costs. I may have missed that. They check the box where the seller, where they didn't put in there that or they did check the box where they want all the appliances. I mean, you can, by looking on your phone, you can miss stuff. So what's really cool is that if you are prepared and you have the agreement handy, you may have certain areas highlighted on the form. And what that does is it just draws their eye. And I would say, okay, here, basically this form, we have to explain to you how things work, right? I wouldn't get into the weeds on compensation yet. I would still water ski. Yeah, and I haven't seen the Florida form, and you guys can ask how you would handle your form, but I think the decision is going to be number one. Is this an exclusive or unexclusive agreement? The second is your level of compensation. So this says right here, Brad and Sherry or Denise, that I'm going to be working with you as an exclusive agent. Now, is that okay? I would just say, is that okay? Based on the conversation, I'm going to say, is that okay with you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so you would initial it there. Now, I talked to someone doing bold this last round that said, no, and this is not me, but this is the way she does it. She gives a form to them. They're in New Jersey, actually. And she lets them read it, and she leaves it with them and then meets with them the following day. I don't do that. That doesn't make sense.
If in New Jersey, if we send them anything through the multiple listing service ahead of time, then we can check off that box so that they can see the agency relationship. But one of the things that I just want to say is that if I had appointments set up to meet with somebody, I would have already laid the groundwork in the conversation on the phone when I scheduled the appointment, that we're going to first meet in the office and we're going to get to know your wants and needs, and then we're going to go over some of the state required disclosures. I'm going to already have that laid out. And then for me, the way I've always done it before the buyer's agency agreement, which I have not had a buyer this year, so I have not, I'm going to be next week doing it. But I've always been like, okay, so this is our consumer information statement. And in New Jersey, you have the right to work with us as a buyer's agent and a disclosed dual agent, or now we have,
Hey, wait a minute. Are you doing this on the phone?
no, that by the time I meet with them, I just go over, this is what we're going to do when we meet. And then usually I get the, well, we're going to look at homes, and of course we can look at homes. We just have to first work on your wants and needs. I usually like leave it at the, we're meeting on your wants and needs, so I can get a criteria so I can narrow down the homes. I've also never qualified a buyer over the phone. I've gotten some generic information. So one of the things I'll be working on in the future is the pre-qualification of a buyer and seller. But I mean, that's pretty much how I do it. I just kind of like set up the appointment, let them know what to expect. We're going to meet. And then I just have to get into the routine of going over what the forms are.
Okay. I mean, I think it's fine letting them know coming in. I'm going to come back to that in a minute and see how you handle it. All right, let's go down to the compensation. Here's the levels of compensation. How do you handle the conversation on your form of compensation? Brad, you started this conversation. We'll start with you.
Well, I explained to him that the compensation is typically paid in the sale of the house by the seller. I also tell them that let them know that there may be opposite situations like.
No, hang on. Just role play it with me. I'm the buyer.
Okay. So yeah, Denny, the compensation, the way that I am paid is typically the compensation, my compensation is paid through the sale of the house or by the seller in the listing agreement. If we were to deal with a for sale by owner, somebody that hasn't listed it in the MLS, I will approach the owner to ask them to pay my compensation. If they don't, then we have the option for you to pay my compensation and then, or skip the house. And then another way to handle that is to simply look for properties that the compensation is being paid through the listing.
Okay.
See, that's
All
the
right, hang
sticky
on.
part. That's the
Hang on.
sticky part.
All right, I'm gonna go around the horn. Jamie, how do you handle that conversation? Have you had to handle it yet?
Yeah, how about as a buyer's agent, the way I'm compensated is by finding you a house and closing, getting to the closing of your house.
So hang on just a second. You were in my boardroom, right?
Yes.
You remember me saying that be careful saying finding the house?
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta be careful when you say find the house, because they may actually find it before you do.
Sure. So the way, as your buyer's agent, the way I'm compensated, or what I'm compensated when we close on your new house. My commission is ex bananas. That commission in many cases, that compensation will be paid by the seller.
Don't you state what your fee is? And I don't like the word commission so much as professional fee. Don't you state what your professional fee is?
Yeah. Yeah.
So my professional fee is 2.5%. And again, I'm not, we know there's no set fee. That's my team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to go to Denise. How would you explain it? Because you guys we need to smooth this out a little bit. Denise, go ahead. We're dealing with estate disclosures and we're dealing with compensation. So.
Okay, can I take it back to, so Denny, you told me that you've bought a home before. When you purchased your home in the past, who paid the compensation?
Yes. Now I know where you're going with it, and I love the story. My question is, do you is it better to do that before or after? And here's why I'm asking.
Before.
Okay, so she says before, so go ahead. So so the guys can hear the story. Yeah, I bought a house before.
Okay, and how long ago was that?
It was like 6 years.
Okay. We've had some changes in the industry within the last year. And one of the things I need to do when I go over agency relationship with you is explain to you that before I show you any homes, I have to discuss this state required document of the buyer's agency agreement. Have you heard anything about this new process that we must follow?
Yeah, but I don't quite understand it.
Fantastic. And let's take the time to go over that. I am going to be working with you and help you find a home. And in doing that, one of three things are going to happen. We are going to find you a home where when you purchased your home, compensation came through the transaction. You didn't put it out of your pocket, probably. Is that the case? I know that didn't make sense. That was a total jumble of words. Oh, he froze again. He froze again.
But finding a home, be careful when you say finding a home, because
Okay.
so we're going to help you purchase a home.
Okay. You froze on us a couple times. Okay. So I lost on what you said. So, when you, I don't know where I lost you. When you purchased your home previously, do you know who paid the compensation to the brokers?
A seller, I guess seller did.
Okay. So you've never paid the compensation by turning over a check.
Now, let me see if I can simplify the story for you.
Okay.
I like the use of the story, and this is really good for all of you guys to hear. And we can talk about when it's the best time to use it. The story goes like this. I'll just go back to you, Denise. Denise, you said you bought a home about 6 years ago, right?
Yes.
That's number one. The second point is, was there a real estate agent involved in it?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And you had an agent working for you. That's question 3.
Yes, I did.
How did your agent get paid?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they got paid something, right?
Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they wouldn't have worked for free.
So that could be a response, or they say, well, generally speaking, that was, if you go back, well, I would say generally speaking, that they probably were paid by the seller. Does that make sense to you?
That does.
Now, notice how I am breaking it up. How long am I talking, you guys? About 7 seconds.
Mhm.
Everything's a question. All right, so they got paid by the seller, yeah. So where did the seller get the money?
I guess from the home being sold.
And who brought the money to the seller to buy the home?
Well, we bought the home, so it had to come from us buying the home.
And here's the last question. Then who paid the fee?
Sounds like I did.
Boom. Now, I believe the discussion, that story, if you do it up front, you're doing it from a position of weakness versus a position of strength. Because you're afraid to tell them, you're afraid they're going to object. I think the story is stronger after they object. So you understand what I'm saying, Denise?
Do the buyer's agency agreement, let them balk on it, and then go through the story?
Yes.
Okay.
That just probably the way I would run the play. And this is how it goes. So let's talk about my professional fee. One of 3 things are going to happen. I love that. People think in threes. I mean, I've got I love that. One of 3 things will happen. Number one, my fee is my broker's compensation is, I would say my broker, because it's not yours, it's your broker's. It's 2.5%. That would be compensated a couple different ways. Number one. And if you're going to bring up the lawsuit, if you're going to bring up August 17th, don't spend more than 15 seconds on it. And if they ask you about it, say, you know what, it was really a great thing. Because in essence, I mean, there's pages and pages, but what it says is it doesn't change really the money as much as how it's disclosed or how it's paid. Would you like me to give you would you like to, well, I would probably ask this question, would you like me to give you the highlights of it?
Mhm.
And they'll say yes.
Mhm.
Keep it up, just don't go deep into it. The bottom line is this. I get paid, let me explain how my broker, it's always my broker gets paid. It's 2.5%. Number one, it's going to be number one, the sellers are going to pay that. Number two, they're going to pay part of it. And in which case, if they don't pay, they're either going to pay it or not.
Mhm.
That's probably simpler. And in a case where they're not offering to pay it, then we have it, you'll know before we go into a house, you have the option then to include it in your purchase. I mean, we'll add it to the offer price. Or subtract it from the offer price. I guess it's added to the offer price too. I got a little confused. Now I'm confusing myself.
So that's like a concession. I mean, we can, if we add it in the offer price, we're adding more than the offer price. If we can write it in the deal, we can write it with the offer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We can ask them to pay it. I'm not going to say we're going to add it, or we can subtract it from the offer. Now, all right. Now imagine you gave them 3, although that was not as smooth as it should be. Katrina, is this making sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions on it? Now, Denise, what do you mean? I have to pay it?
Yeah, I've never paid commission before. Why do I have to pay it?
Now I'd go through the story. Do you see how the story at the end might have more power?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Does anybody want to try that? Katrina, you will look, I know that I don't want to put you on a spot, but I don't want to not include you. So would you like to play?
Sure. I'm not sure.
Where are you?
I am in Tennessee. Is that what you're asking me?
My gosh, that's God's country. Okay, so you're meeting with a buyer. I'm your buyer, or let Denise be your buyer. How would you explain the compensation? How do you do it in Tennessee?
Okay. Well, thank you, Denise, for meeting with me this afternoon. We're going to go over a couple of key pieces of information. The first one, we're going to go over the disclosures, as well as we're going to talk about my compensation piece. Our brokerage has outlined a detailed document that will help me guide you through it. Is it okay if I give you the highlights?
Sure.
Beautiful.
Okay. So my compensation, my brokerage compensation is 3%. And one of 3 things are going to happen once we get ready to start on your search. One, the seller will pay the entire 3%, which is typically what should happen in the past, or the seller has the option to pay a portion of that 3%.
Slow down, just slow down a little bit. We're going to make sure before you go to 2. I mean, so that's great. I love what you're saying. Just it's fast. Remember, they may not be absorbing it as fast as you're dishing it out.
Okay.
So you might want to say it may be just like it was in the past. Does that make sense? There's your tie down. Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2.
Seller pays a portion of that 3%. Does that make sense?
Well, wait a minute. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's you, Denise.
I'm sorry, what's me?
I don't understand.
You're already going to push back on her.
On number 2. Oh, what does that mean?
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked. In some cases, the seller will opt to only pay a portion of the 3%, which would mean the remaining portion would be your responsibility in order to cover. However, you will know prior to us getting to the closing table if that would be something that would be a responsibility for you. Does that make sense?
Sort of, before getting to the closing table, or before
before we visit the home. So part of my process is, once we identify the property that you would like to view, I'll go through and do the discovery and be able to determine if the seller is offering the compensation piece or not. And so we'll have that conversation prior to scheduling the appointment to go view the home.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I don't want to pay compensation. I've never paid compensation. I've bought 3 homes. I've never paid compensation.
Now, she has just set herself up for the story, but don't go to the story yet. You got to go to number 3.
Number 3 is you pay the professional fee in its entirety yourself.
Now, one thing I'm going to say is that I like this presentation a lot. I'll ask your opinion. Based on the new law, if you take the pronoun you out of it, say, well, there's 3 ways. Okay, the seller pays it all just like it was before, so that makes sense. Secondly, is the seller may not offer the same as what the agent requires, and therefore the buyer, not you, it may not, I'm asking you, does that come off less offensive?
It does.
Generic.
Yeah, does that make sense, Jamie? Okay, so the buyer may have to then make the difference up. And then the third is that the seller may not offer any compensation, and it's up to the buyer to work out that with the agent. Is that all right? I'm just throwing that out there. Now, let's go back to, and we're good on time. We'll go back to, well, you just said, well, now let's see if you can tell the story. Well, I bought 3 houses. I never had to pay it. That's the response you want.
And okay, and tell me a little bit about that. How long ago was that purchase?
Well, my last purchase was in 2005.
Okay. And then in 2005, was there a realtor associated with that deal?
Yeah.
It was. And do you know how the realtor was compensated?
I don't have any idea. I'm sure it just came from the purchase.
Okay. And then who brought the funds in order to secure or to finalize the purchase of the home?
Well, the seller hired the realtor to sell the home, so the seller paid for it.
Okay. And then once you guys closed on the home, where did the funds come from?
It came from the deal. It came from us buying the home.
Oh, okay. So from you buying the home, which ultimately leads us to believe that
You're doing great.
You understand.
I got
You're doing
stuck.
No, you did great.
Great job.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So the issue is this. So in essence, you brought the money. So I guess my question is, if the transaction could be handled the same way as it was the last 3 houses you bought, are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
And so it happens one of 3 ways. One is that the seller's already offered the 3%. Secondly, if they offer less than that, then we can basically, you can subtract that from your offer. So you're whole. Oh, no, the second thing, we could ask them to pay the difference. That could, you could structure,
Add it.
or we could subtract it from the offer. Does that make sense to you? But anyway, so you all get this?
Mhm.
So although this is pretty herky jerky, if you practice it more, it'll be more comfortable.
Yeah.
Couple of things, what you did there too, Katrina, was, key points. I love that. I'll give you the key points. You talked about your broker. I thought you did a really good job with handling it. Just got stuck on that story, but all in all, I thought you did a great job putting the pieces together. Do y'all think that?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Loved it.
It just takes practice, guys. And remember, this is something that's kind of like, how many people remember, like maybe a bazillion years ago, they were trying to introduce the metric system into the US. And they had speed limit signs with kilometers on it. And they finally gave up, right? Well, at some point in time here in a year or so, this won't even be an issue, because just the way it's done. It's just going to be the way it's done. So practice it, understand it, so you can deliver it with few words, and it being like, yeah, in Florida, hold on, in our county, yeah, the seller pays title insurance. What? Well, I'm the seller and I have to pay the title insurance for the buyer? Yeah, well, when you bought the home, the seller paid it for you. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is.
Pay realty transfer tax in New Jersey.
Say that again.
The buyer the seller pays realty transfer tax.
Seller pays that in Florida too.
Mm.
So Did you get something worthwhile on this Black Friday out of this conversation? This is a good topic.
Yes.
Yeah, I
can't wait
love
for
it.
the replay.
Yeah.
Jamie, how about you? You good?
Yeah, no, this has been really good. Very helpful.
Good. Well, thanks for playing on. If I can help you in any way, let me know. You can email me at Denny, Coach Denny Grimes at Gmail. And let me know. I appreciate you being on. Go out and get that big screen TV or that G.I. Joe with a Kung Fu grip. Love you, mean it.
Thanks, Denny. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Danny.